This special program is brought to you by Villanova University with additional support from PICO, Independence Blue Cross, Thomas Jefferson University Hospital and Jefferson Health, Einstein Healthcare Network, Accenture, Community College of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Foundation, Philadelphia Ballet, Philadelphia Phillies, Philadelphia Housing Authority, WSFS Bank, Chatterblast, and AARP Pennsylvania. WPVI is proud to partner with Aldea to bring this program to the region.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Walter Perez. Thank you for joining us for the special TV program of the 2021 Archetypes, the premier celebration of America's Hispanic heritage. This program is part of the Aldea live event series, Aldea News, documenting the best of the American multicultural experience. Tonight, I'm joined by a notable guest. She's the inaugural Assistant Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, Raquel Arredondo. Raquel, along with my colleague, Dan Cuellar, recently co-hosted the Aldea Archetypes Gala at the Union League of Philadelphia, which you'll hear more about later on tonight. Raquel, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Walter. I am honored to co-host this exceptional program with you. I am eager to take our viewers across the Philadelphia region as we uncover 10 amazing stories of Hispanic Americans who are not just impacting our city, our region, but also our nation. Before we begin our journey, let's go back 200 years to uncover the story of a man whose legacy was the inspiration behind the Ambassador Manuel Torres Awards.
Picture the city of Philadelphia in the 18th century during the years of the great upheaval called the American Revolution, a quiet village founded by William Penn in 1682 as the capital of the new colony of Pennsylvania, one of 13 stretching out over the eastern seaboard. It had become the neutral center, where representatives of the other 12 colonies congregated in the summer of 1776 to discuss their grievances against the British government that had taxed them, regulated their affairs, and ruled them from faraway London. Philadelphia also attracted intellectuals, mavericks, merchants. One of these individuals, who quietly settled in one of its small houses in the city, was Manuel de Trujillo y Torres, a man born in Córdoba, Spain, but fell in love with America and the cause of liberty for the vast continent colonized by European powers. Torres, whose name and story has been etched on a plaque in front of St. Mary's Church on 2nd Street for nearly a century, was a resident of our Philadelphia for nearly 30 years. During that time, he became one of the best-known Philadelphians, writing for the newspaper Aurora. He worked closely with newspaper editor William Duane, producing English and Spanish articles, pamphlets, and books, solidifying his place as an influential thought leader of his time. Appointed the first ambassador of Colombia by El Libertador Simón Bolívar in 1822, Torres presented his credentials as the first diplomatic representative of the new Republic of La Gran Colombia in the White House on June 19, 1822, when he was received by U.S. President James Monroe. And he was the first representative from any Spanish-American government in the South. As his declining health took a turn for the worse, he passed away on July 15, 1822. He was only 59 years old. He had finished a long and meritorious career advocating for the cause of the revolution in South America. He was also a bridge between Hispanic America and Anglo-Saxon America in the U.S. Torres's plaque on the facade of St. Mary's Church is, for now, the only public testimony of the extraordinary role he played bringing the American revolutionary ideals to the South. Since 2016, Aldea has hosted the annual Hispanic Heritage Celebration to acknowledge the work of the prominent individuals we have called the Archetypes. So far, 23 individuals have been honored with the Aldea Archetype Award, with 10 more adding their name to the list this year, when we have decided to name the annual award after Ambassador Manuel Torres. Nearly 200 years after the ambassador's death, the spirit and legacy of Manuel Torres will be memorialized from now on through all the Aldea Archetype Awards. We are elated to present the Ambassador Manuel Torres Award to this year's 10 honorees. May they be proud to carry this award in his name.
How about that? Crucial to showcase the untold stories of Hispanic American leaders.
Speaking of leaders, let's start this journey at the state capitol in Harrisburg, and then the campus of Drexel University.
Hi, I'm Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf. Hispanic Heritage Month is an important time for our Commonwealth. Each year, we celebrate the rich culture and contributions of Pennsylvania's Hispanic community, and we take time to honor the outstanding Pennsylvanians of Hispanic and Latino descent who make a difference in our Commonwealth. It is my pleasure to recognize Pennsylvania's Secretary of Education, Noe Ortega, who is being honored as one of this year's Al Dia Archetypes.
I am Noe Ortega. I am the Secretary of Education here in Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. I was born in Robstown, Texas. It is a migrant farm worker town. We grew up not of means, and so it was always trying to figure out what the mobility was going to be, and in my family that was going to be education. I went to college on a college assistance migrant program, and St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas happened to be one of the schools in Texas that had that program. I had the opportunity to go to Japan to become an educator and really developed a liking to it. That kind of was my entry point into education. I decided I would pursue a master's degree initially in curriculum and education. When I arrived back in Texas, I enrolled at a university where eventually I found myself taking on another full-time job. We began to build a campaign, which was called the College for All Texans campaign, to promote financial literacy, mentorship support for students. That eventually is what got me into policy, which is why I made a decision to pursue a doctorate in policy and education when I went to the University of Michigan. One particular area that we spent a lot of time working on was access for immigrant and undocumented students for college, right? We were going to DC quite regularly because Congress was beginning to investigate what kind of policy they could pursue at the federal level. And I happened to meet some individuals that were working in Pennsylvania at the time. One of them in particular went on to join the administration under Governor Wolf and work closely with my predecessor, Pedro Rivera. A number of individuals said if you meet with him, you'll get a sense of what his values and perspectives are. And he won me over. I was named the Deputy Secretary for the Office of Post-Secondary and Higher Education. We were setting new milestones, trying to think of ways to really improve and enhance the college-going culture of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And then lo and behold, there's some transitions that happened in the leadership. The person who recruited me here ends up notifying myself and the rest of the group that he was going to be moving on. And he says, you're the right person to come in there and begin to advocate for the inequities. And it really took me aback. And I, of course, ended up saying yes, which brought me to the position now. Most of what we're going to do on a day-to-day basis is going to be contested politically, publicly, all the time. And it's going to be challenged. And I think for many of us, as we lead through challenging times like a pandemic or whatever we will encounter in the future, it's important to remain true to the values and imperatives and the mission that brought you into becoming a leader in the first place. And to me, that's the best advice you can give anyone that goes into a position like mine.
Now, I'm sure we've all seen a movie where one of the characters is taken ill in a public place and the call goes out, is there a doctor in the house? Well, for us at Drexel University, at least for the past 8 years, the answer has always been yes, Dr. Ana Diaz-Rue is in the house. Her career in public health, and in particular, her tenure as the Dean of the Dana and David Dornsife School of Public Health, has been what I would call a textbook example of the right person at the right place, at the right time, and for the right reason. My thanks to Al Dia for recognizing and honoring Dr. Ana Diaz-Rue's academic, scientific, and personal contributions to the cause of public health.
I'm Ana Diaz-Rue, and I'm Dean of the Dornsife School of Public Health at Drexel University. I was born in Argentina, and then I lived for a few years in Venezuela. My father was working there for a few years, and then came to the United States, actually, when I was, I think, probably around 6 or 7. Lived in the United States near Boston till I was 12, and then went back to Argentina, where I went to high school and did my medical training, then trained in pediatrics at a big children's hospital. You know, the children that we were seeing every day, you know, they were coming back again and again with the same problems. So some problems we could fix, but it was only temporarily that we could fix them. And a lot of what we were seeing had to do with the conditions in which these children were growing up. And so that really made me interested in learning more about public health and learning more about, what the real causes were and what we can do about those causes, how we can intervene to improve the health of the population of children, not just an individual child. And so that's really what motivated me to come back to the US to get training in public health. As part of the work that we do here at the Dornsife School of Public Health, we work with many partners in the city of Philadelphia, including the Philadelphia Department of Public Health, and also including many community organizations that are focused on improving the health of local communities. Recently, we've done a lot of work on COVID, for example, describing differences in access to vaccination across neighborhoods in Philadelphia. And we also support leaders who are really thinking about what the next steps are, what we can do locally, how we can invest in neighborhoods to create a healthier world that's more equitable and that allows everyone to live out life to their full and healthiest potential.
Coming up next, we'll hear from Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney to introduce a leader who's making huge advancements for Latinos in the political sphere. You'll not want to miss her story.
What is a Villanovan? In 30 seconds? Well, Villanovans aim high. Top-ranked National University high. We think fast and stay connected. V's up. Villanovans think deeply, push boundaries, and go, go, go! Still with me? We climb corporate ladders and these ladders. This campus is our home, but you can find us almost anywhere. Villanovans have big hearts and solve even bigger problems, and we celebrate together. Ignite change, go Nova.
Whatever the world brings, we're always moving forward. Reinventing business, reimagining home, and re-emphasizing community. At PICO, we're redefining support, finding new ways to provide financial assistance, supporting opportunities for good jobs, and uplifting our communities. We're by your side through it all, because whatever the future holds, you're ready to take it on, and we're ready to power it. Find the support you need at pico.com.
I get scared sometimes.
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
We turn amateurs into engineers. Creatures of habit into agents of change. Night owls into the earliest risers. Date nights into play dates. And first impressions into ones that will last a lifetime. Einstein is turning people into parents.
Accenture. Let there be change.
I want to thank Aldea, Accenture. I'm a better person having worked there. I'm a better father, husband, son, brother, friend. Having worked there for over 20 years. I want to thank my wife and kids. I hope I make you proud every day. Standing in this room as a kid from Harlem, grew up in the projects, food stamps, didn't own a pair of jeans until I was 13, had holes in my shoes. This is not a place I'm supposed to be, except for the fact that I am supposed to be here with all of you tonight. Let's give a larger round of applause for Aldea for bringing us here together. We want them to hear us from LA to New York, from Chicago to El Paso, across the city, here in Philly. Let them hear our voice and the power of this room, the Latino community.
His energy is contagious.
Just wait until you hear his story.
Hello, my name is Jordan Rambo, and I'm the Philadelphia Office Managing Director at Accenture. And I'm here to talk about a good friend of mine, someone who spent 20 years with Accenture. That individual is Damien Rivera. Damien is one of the most positive and energetic people that I've ever been around. Born in Spanish Harlem, Damien had a number of struggles early on in his childhood days. Tragedy happened within Damien's life, and that brought him back to Harlem. Damien realized where his true calling was, what his passion was. It was giving back. And it was in that he found Alpha, and he's been there ever since.
My name is Damien Rivera. I'm the CEO of Alpha, the Association of Latino Professionals for America. Our goal is to connect Latino leaders for impact, and provide access to information, opportunities, and networks to allow everyone to achieve their aspirations in life and meet their dreams. Whether it's a student that needs to be able to talk to a mentor or connect. Nationally, we have chapters and chapter leaders that are professionals that are able to connect in with the students and other professionals as well to help and support each other. My parents had pretty humble jobs, right? My mom an EA at a nonprofit, my dad worked for the post office. And what they wanted for me was to have a career that would allow me to provide for myself, my family, and to be able to have opportunities that they didn't necessarily have. That's what success looked like. And that was until 2014, March 2014, when there was a gas explosion at the church that I went to growing up. And in that moment, I knew things would never be the same. I started to realize that there is more in life that I should be doing, to be able to do more for the community that gave me so much. And it wasn't until I learned about Alpha and had the opportunity to talk to students about the organization and see the power and impact of this community coming together like nothing I had seen before that I thought I may have found this home. What I say is, God willing, I have some grandkids too, maybe great grandkids, and I want to be able to tell them at a time in our country, at a time in our world where we need people to step up, stand up, speak up, and do more. I did that.
Hola, I am Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney coming to you from historic City Hall. Each year between September 15th and October 15th, Philadelphia, like the rest of the country, celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month, honoring the contributions of Hispanics to the founding and shaping of this nation. That shaping continued in its biggest way at the end of last year, as Hispanic turnout during the 2020 presidential election tipped the balance in many swing states. In no part of the country was that power felt more than in Philadelphia, where the city played a key role in flipping Pennsylvania and deciding the race after nearly a week of high emotions, watching results come in from an election unlike any other. With approximately 62 million Americans identifying as Hispanic in the 2020 census, the majority of whom are also young, that political clout will only continue to grow and make more of a difference in the years and decades to come. As to who will lead this generation of Hispanic voters and the next to the polls and political office, look no further than Natalie Reyes. Born in a small village in Venezuela, Reyes learned the value of serving one's community early from her father, who was a local business owner. She came to Los Angeles with her family when she was 9, and it was also where she would start her career in public service more than a decade later. 2020 was not just an historic year for turnout. More Latinos ran for political office at the local, state, and federal levels than ever before in U.S. history. Like at the voting booths across the country, the number of Latinos in political office will also continue to rise in the future. It sets the stage for a political future in the U.S. that will always have Hispanic interest at the table before, during, and after Hispanic Heritage Month.
I'm Natalie Reyes, and I'm the President and CEO of Latino Victory. Our organization tries to ensure representation at all levels of government, to ensure Latino voices are everywhere. I am Venezuelan. My parents immigrated when I was 9 to Los Angeles. My father had a 12th grade education. My mother had a 10th grade education. They believed of the importance of us getting educated. We worked very hard to ensure that we got to college. We worked to pay for college as well. Parents could not help us, fill out applications to high school and to college, so we had to do that ourselves. And so I started off in local government after I finished my bachelor's. I started off in the field office, making sure that if you called as a constituent, I was going to fix those potholes, pick up that trash, and ensure that your parks were safe. I got to see how government can affect daily lives. I realized that I could do good, and I could help others. And so I saw government as that avenue. And then I got to create. I created the first office of immigrant affairs in the city of Los Angeles to ensure that immigrants that came to Los Angeles, just like I came as an immigrant to Los Angeles, had that connection. Service is about answering calls, internal calls that you might have, external calls that might, pull you in certain directions. And I've also always listened to my internal instincts and that gut feeling that says, you got to do this. Latino Victory, the organization that I care deeply about, being on the board of Latino Victory, we needed a present CEO. And I knew that I could do that job, and I knew that I could serve my community in that position. I jumped in May of 2020 as the new president and CEO of Latino Victory, and I ran all the way till November, to that beautiful day where we elected Joe Biden as president of the United States. We put all our weight behind him, and we ensured that Latino voters were the margin of victory in battleground states. And so here we are, ensuring that our community is represented at the highest levels with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president of the United States. It takes a village to do what we do. I stand here with my Latino Victory family and the community at large. I stand with them and they stand with me. And if I can do little something to affect change positively, my calling is to do that. But I didn't do any of this by myself. Others have paved the way with me and for me, and will continue to do that. And I will pave the way for others as well.
This is head coach of the Philadelphia Union, Jim Curtin. And we are so proud to have our captain, Alejandro Bedoya, honored as an archetype. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, it's important to recognize Hispanic Americans like Ali who contribute so much to our communities. From day one, Alejandro Bedoya is a guy who came into Philadelphia, embraced the culture, embraced the city all around him. He's a blue-collar, no-nonsense player who leads by example and leads with his words when needed in the locker room. When you talk about, great players and athletes that reach the highest level, oftentimes, a lot of them aren't as humble off the field as Ali is. His impact in the community to do appearances and help young children, to be very philanthropic and donate things, his time, his money. He's not a guy that just talks about things. He's a guy of action, and that just shows the type of person he is. Comes from a great family, and you can see he's always looking to improve, not just on the field, but also all the people around his life off the field as well. So again, starts with being a great person, and there's no better person than Alejandro Bedoya, an incredible leader, an incredible mentor for young people, and a great representative of the city of Philadelphia and everything that it's about. Even though he's from Miami, he's a true Philadelphian at heart at this point.
My name is Alejandro Bedoya, and I'm the captain and midfielder for the Philadelphia Union. Soccer has always been a part of my life. Both my grandfather played and my father played professionally in Colombia. My father came over to pursue the American dream. From a very early age, there were soccer balls all over the house, all over the yard. I just found it easy to pick it up, and it became such a passion for me. I did not initially plan to become a professional athlete. My parents were they'd always harp on education. I did have an opportunity my junior year to leave school early, but my mom was in this year just telling me, no, tiene que terminar la escuela, you have to get your degree. So, I'm very thankful for that because I did get my degree from Boston College, something that I'm proud of. And, I was still able to become a professional soccer player. With me graduating, I wanted to pursue the next level of my career. So I decided to go to Europe, where I played for several clubs, spent almost 10 years there. And then with the birth of my son, I decided it was time to be closer to home. And I decided to make the transition to come back stateside to be part of Philadelphia Union of the MLS. From an early age, my parents instilled in me, positive morals, values, and that I can really drive positive change through, my profession and my career. The day we were playing against DC United in DC was on a Sunday night. That weekend, the Saturday, there was a shooting in El Paso. And Sunday, I woke up in a hotel room in DC to the shooting in Dayton, Ohio. I turn on the TV as I'm getting prepared for my game, and the only thing that's on the news is about the mass shootings over the weekend. Before that Parkland shooting hit really close to home because I grew up 10 minutes from there. As a human being, I was just so sick, that we have to deal with this here in this country. And for whatever reason, I did score that opening goal down in DC, and I went over to the corner. I saw the mic out of the corner of my eye, the field mic, and I just went over there and shouted in the mic, not knowing if it was on or whatnot. And I pledged to Congress to do something about the gun violence in our country. And it was a moment that went viral. Since that moment, I would say it's just made me more involved in the different issues and causes that I'm passionate about. Obviously, gun violence is one of them. I'm hoping my voice is just another one that's trying to make a positive impact.
Next, how did Aldea go from hosting a small gathering to celebrate Hispanic heritage to bringing these stories to screens across the country? When we come back, we'll hear from those who made it possible.
Community college was the best academic experience that I've had. And if you get your Oxford diploma, I mean, this is not a small thing to say.
Because the professors are very passionate about it, I fell in love with it from the first class on. I feel like they push it to be your best.
What it did for me, I learned that I could be the person that I wanted to be. And that will carry you wherever it is you need to go.
What is a Villanovan in 30 seconds? Well, Villanovans aim high, top-ranked national university high. We think fast and stay connected. V's up. Villanovans think deeply, push boundaries, and go, go, go! Still with me? We climb corporate ladders and these ladders. This campus is our home, but you can find us almost anywhere. Villanovans have big hearts and solve even bigger problems, and we celebrate together. Ignite change, go Nova.
Latinos are like millions of diverse threads connected through our shared heritage. AARP recognizes that we make the fabric of America stronger through our contributions, talent, and unique experiences. From one loom, we weave a collective future, and with AARP, we help ensure that future is filled with health, wealth, and happiness. Celebrate your Latinidad. Connect with AARP.
Chatterblast Media congratulates all of the outstanding individuals honored with the Ambassador Manuel Torres Award. As a proud partner in the Aldea Archetypes and the 2021 Women of Merit event, we are honored to celebrate the work of Hispanic leaders this month and every month.
For more than 100 years, Philadelphia Foundation has been a part of the progress of our ever-evolving region, addressing needs and creating positive impact.
We can trust the Philadelphia Foundation to be of service to the community at any point in time.
Welcome back to the 2021 Aldea Archetypes. Before we reveal the final 5 stories, let's learn of the thought process and arduous work behind bringing this TV show to your screen.
An idea, no matter how great it is just an idea unless you have people who believe in it and are able to execute it. We started this journey in December of 2020 with many doubts and not really knowing how this whole process was going to work. But we dared to take a risk, and I'm proud to say we've made it this far. We hosted a gala, published 5 editions featuring 10 archetypes, and produced a television program. We filmed interviews in 3 states and over 20 different locations around this region. Hernan, our founder and CEO, is a visionary, and I thank him for letting us experiment and for trusting that we can pull this off. I hope we're able to inspire others with this event. We need the leadership of this nation to reflect the demographics. And as Nina Vaca put it, you can't be what you can't see. Media validates the work and accomplishments of people, and we should continue to showcase more stories like the ones we're hearing today. There were many people who guided us and helped us along the way. To those people, I am very grateful, especially to our small but mighty team here at Aldea, who you will hear from next. Thank you.
My experience through this whole process, I think my big takeaway is just the power of teamwork. It's no secret at Aldea that we have a pretty small team that we work with. With that small team, we've been able to not only put on a gala and create a TV program, but also for 5 weeks, we've highlighted 2 archetypes a week editorially in our print edition. And I think the impact of that work will reverberate throughout this region.
It's really hard taking somebody's life story and condensing it into a 3-minute long video. All of the archetypes have these really rich, detailed pasts that it became really difficult to know what to actually include in the edits.
As a fellow here at Al Día News, I was excited to be able to help tell the stories of these 10 trailblazers. I feel that I learned so much, and the fact that I was able to bring my own ideas to the table made it even better.
Working on the business side of this effort, we needed to secure the support of partners so that we could bring our vision of this multimedia project to life. I've noticed that it's become trendy for corporations to show their support for marginalized communities, as they now understand the power that these populations have on their bottom lines. We're not a trend, we're here to stay. I'd like to thank our sponsors for believing in us. We're so much more than alternative or local news. We belong in the mainstream.
As someone who's been with Al Día for 3 years, it's been really great to see the evolution of this event. I've had the opportunity to meet many of the archetypes over the years, and it's always very inspiring to hear their stories.
Al Día Archetypes, now a show you can watch on TV, was 6 years ago my naive idea as a Hispanic publisher to celebrate and possibly understand better my own heritage. Today, this program is the very manifestation of what can be accomplished when you bring people from diverse backgrounds together. Creating a TV show is a monumental feat, but I trusted the leadership of a newsroom to put together a collective effort to tell these stories. Watching the Al Día team put this show together makes me believe the best is yet to come.
Good evening. I'm Delilah Wilson-Scott, Executive Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer for Comcast Corporation. I want to introduce you to one of our incredible suppliers and an inspiring leader who founded one of the largest Latino-owned companies in the United States. Her name is Nina Vaca, and her company is the Pinnacle Group. Nina is the 2021 Al Día Hispanic Heritage Archetype for Entrepreneurship. And I have to say, there's not a more perfect person for the recognition. Entrepreneurship runs in her veins. Born in Ecuador and raised in Los Angeles, California, Nina started working at her father's travel agency when she was just 10 years old. Through this experience, she saw firsthand how technology was shaping the world. At just 25 years old, Nina went on to launch Pinnacle in her living room with a phone, computer, and $300. Since then, it has grown from a one-woman staffing firm to $1 billion global workforce solutions company with a presence in 10 countries. It's an amazing story and one I can't wait for you to hear.
I was born in Quito, Ecuador, South America, the middle of the world. Both my mother and my father are Ecuadorian. And I grew up in a very humble, faithful, entrepreneurial family. My father was an entrepreneur. My mother was and is a civic leader. And I've dedicated my entire life to those two things, entrepreneurship and civic leadership. I am the first to attain a college education in my family, but not the last. Being the first in my family was a very scary time, but it has proven to be the right decision to move the entire family forward. I moved to Texas to go to college. I started my career in New York City at the height of the dot-com era and entered the technology industry. I was inspired by my own experiences in my father's travel agency, where he introduced a dumb terminal. And so I started to understand the power of technology to business, and I was very curious. In less than a year, I came back to Texas at the ripe age of 25 years old. In my apartment living room floor, I founded a little company called Pinnacle. The way that I could describe the 25 years of Pinnacle is somewhere between a dream and a journey. A dream in building a business, improving lives and helping people. A journey in that it's had its ups and downs. Today, Pinnacle is the largest Hispanic workforce solutions company in America and arguably one of the largest Latina-owned businesses in this country. We operate out of our Dallas world headquarters and have a presence in 10 countries with thousands of consultants. And I couldn't be more proud, but I take very little credit. I have surrounded myself by amazing people, have created a vision that people could really see themselves in. So I always say that what I do at Pinnacle puts food on the table, but what we do in the community feeds my soul. Because I stand for people. I've spent a lot of time thinking about my purpose, thinking about meaning, thinking about my personal story and what it contributes to this country. Because when you see people that look like you achieving, it inspires others to do the same.
Hi, I'm Ann Ewers, President and CEO of the Kimmel Center, the premier performing arts venue in our region. I am honored to be able to present a performer who has danced in thousands and thousands of venues just like ours. He is the artistic director of the Philadelphia Ballet and the 2021 Aldea Hispanic Heritage Performing Arts Archetype for its Hispanic Heritage Awards. Where to begin? Angel was born in Madrid, and he first was introduced to dance and ballet by his sister, who was taking ballet lessons. He was studying karate, but he very quickly tired of that and began taking ballet lessons, and the rest is history. Angel was a phenom, absolute phenom, and he became a Spanish national hero when he joined the famous ABT, American Ballet Theater, at the age of 20 in 1995. He was the first Spaniard with the company, and together with them, he toured from New York to Sydney and everywhere in between. At the height of his career, Angel was revered as one of the best, if not the best, performers of his generation. While he was performing, he also ran his own company in Barcelona, and in 2014, he came to what was then the Pennsylvania Ballet. During his tenure, he has completely transformed the company, and most recently, he has changed the name to Philadelphia Ballet so that they now, in this new era, can relate and connect better to the city that they call home. So let's listen and hear about this man who is leading the charge.
Dancing was always a way for me to express myself. It was always easier to show how I felt through dancing, through a body expression that through words. So I think that was sort of a hint that was what I was going to be doing in my future. I wanted to become a carpenter, and I was doing that for a few months, and then that's when a friend of mine said, well, before you stop completely, why don't you go to a competition and see what your level is, because I think that you're a really good dancer. So I decided to go to this competition in Paris, and I won the gold medal. And then in the jury was a prima ballerina called Natalia Makarova, and she asked me, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I don't know, because I was going to stop dancing. So she said, let me talk to the artistic director of American Ballet Theater and see what we can do. I flew to New York, and I did an audition with American Ballet Theater, and I was offered a soloist contract. 6 months later, I was promoted to principal dancer. My first performance with American Ballet Theater, I remember like it was yesterday, 3,000, almost 4,000 people in the audience. I was, it was overwhelming. I felt like I was a lion that they opened the cage and just went out, and orchestra stopped, and I was like, "Now, Chan!" And then I heard this wave of like people screaming, "Wow!" And it almost took me back, because I was like, wow, I've never experienced this in my life. I was constantly getting all these incredible things in my career, dancing for presidents and for queens and kings around the world, all these amazing things so quickly. I decided to create a foundation to try to do some fundraising for creating a company in Spain, a ballet company in Spain. And we did that for 7 years. And then finally in 2007, we opened a ballet company in Spain, in Barcelona. We got the support from the government. And then after 5 years of the company running, they decided that they wanted to take the support away. It was hard to digest to have a politician that has no idea about arts tell you don't really matter. I heard that Pennsylvania Ballet at the time, we was looking for an artistic director. My sister She was a dancer. So I used to come every weekend, and I used to visit her and see the company. So I was very familiar with the history of the company. And when I heard that they were looking for an artistic director, I was, the first one in line, probably. I think the arts is what defines a community. And I think that it's really important that that community has a strong bond with the arts organizations that they have in their community. I invite everyone, no matter what culture, no matter what age, ethnicity, to come to the theater and enjoy and experience the Philadelphia Ballet, because that's who we are. We're part of you, we're part of your community, and you're part of us as well.
I'm David Boardman, Dean of Temple University's Klein College of Media and Communication. I come to you from North Philadelphia, where Temple molds the next generation of leaders for our city and beyond. Today, I'm here to introduce a man who sets the standard and is the archetype for that next generation of leaders. He is Pedro Ramos. Pedro is the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Foundation, one of the nation's first community foundations, and a catalyst for positive change in our region. Pedro is the perfect person to lead the foundation, as his dedication to his hometown of Philadelphia runs deep. Born at 5th and Girard to Puerto Rican parents, Pedro watched how great leaders improved his community, and he wanted to become one of those leaders. He left to attend law school at Michigan and then returned to Philadelphia to do just that. He first led a successful law career. Then he focused on giving back. Throughout his career, Pedro has held a variety of public service positions, from the Philadelphia School Board to the mayor's office, and now to the board of the Lenfest Institute for Journalism. He has had a profound and positive impact on this place, and has done so with an uncanny skill to bring people together. Pedro is a power broker who somehow makes everyone around him feel empowered. In his current role with the Philadelphia Foundation, Pedro helps direct the philanthropy of thousands of donors to the areas where their money will have the greatest impact. Please join me in hearing the story of a visionary change agent, an archetypal leader, and an archetypal Philadelphian, my friend, Pedro Ramos.
My name is Pedro Ramos, and I'm the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Foundation. Established over 100 years ago to always be here for the region, raising money and making grants that are investments both in the needs and opportunities of today, as well as the needs and opportunities of tomorrow. Well, I was born in Philadelphia, the youngest of 5 kids. I'm much younger than my 4 older siblings, almost a generation between us. My parents came from Puerto Rico in 1953. They both valued what they were never given, which was an education. I was a bright kid. I benefited from a lot of good luck too. I had the support of my parents, support of my neighbors, and at key times, the support of these educators who just stepped in and pointed me in the right direction. A little more than 6 years ago, I was practicing law, really doing what I had been preparing myself to do for a long time. And I got a call from a search firm about being the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Foundation. I didn't know why they were calling me, but ultimately, talked to my wife, talked to friends, and again, had other people point out to me, like, this is something that you would really like to do. This is something you'd be good at. As I got into it and learned more about the mission of the Philadelphia Foundation, I got very excited about it. As CEO of the Philadelphia Foundation, I get to wake up every day and help make lives better in our community. I'm really optimistic about the future of Greater Philadelphia and the future of the Latino community in Greater Philadelphia. Latinos are a big part of the growth that we're experiencing throughout the region and in the state. And I think, we are a community that really is here to stay. This is our home, and we have great aspirations for ourselves, for our neighbors, and for the community in which we live. And I think it's that we're going to play an important part of a bright future in this region.
An archetype, first of all, is an honor, right? To have that conferred on me really is a tremendous honor. I would hope that the archetype also serves as a kind of example for people, and in this case, and in my case in particular, as a first-generation immigrant who earns the accolade of an architect.
Archetype, as Aldea is celebrating, is really a symbol of the diversity and range and longevity of the contributions and commitment of Latinos in Philadelphia, in our history, in our present, and the substantial role that the Latino community will play in the future of the city, the region, and the state, given that it's the biggest growing population in all of those, the city, the region, and the state.
Well, it's a great honor. I mean, being a Latin male ballet dancer, it was always hard growing up, and to have the support of the family and to become a ballet dancer, and now to be recognized for that, I think it's a great way to recognize our culture and recognize that Latins can also be ballet dancers, and especially male ballet dancers. So I'm really happy and really honored.
I think an archetype is a trailblazer. It's someone who takes something and make it bigger and better than what it was before. And the people that's winning these awards tonight reflect that. I know Gabe Escobar from the Philadelphia Inquirer, he's coming into an institution that has a history of so many problems, and he's coming in there with some new ideas and an ability and a do-will spirit to change. And so that's what archetype looks like to me.
An archetype is something that really inspires. It can be something, so in this case, someone that we are recognizing that can inspire others and can be really somebody that we look after to try to be like them and learn from them.
Community college was the best academic experience that I've had. And if you get your Oxford diploma, I mean, this is not a small thing to say.
Because the professors are very passionate about it, like I fell in love with it from the first class on. I feel like they push you to be your best.
What it did for me, I learned that I could be the person that I wanted to be. And that will carry you wherever it is you need to go.
What is a Villanovan in 30 seconds? Well, Villanovans aim high, top-ranked National University high. We think fast and stay connected. V's up. Villanovans think deeply, push boundaries, and go, go, go! Still with me? We climb corporate ladders in these ladders. This campus is our home, but you can find us almost anywhere. Villanovans have big hearts and solve even bigger problems, and we celebrate together. Ignite change, go Nova.
I get scared sometimes.
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Accenture. Let there be change.
Los latinos somos como miles de hilos diversos, conectados a través de una herencia compartida. AARP reconoce que fortalecemos el tejido de América a través de nuestras contribuciones, talento y experiencias únicas. En un telar, entrelazamos futuros colectivos y con AARP ayudemos a garantizar que nuestros futuros estén llenos de salud, dinero y amor. Celebra tu latinidad. Conéctate con AARP.
Chatterblast Media congratulates all of the outstanding individuals honored with the Ambassador Manuel Torres Award. As a proud partner in the Aldea Archetypes and the 2021 Women of Merit event, we are honored to celebrate the work of Hispanic leaders this month and every month.
For more than 100 years, Philadelphia Foundation has been a part of the progress of our ever-evolving region, addressing needs and creating positive impact.
We can trust the Philadelphia Foundation to be of service to the community at any point in time.
The stories we've seen so far have been so inspiring. We should do this more often, Walter.
I think you're onto something there, Raquel. You can count me in. All right, the remaining archetypes have made vast strides in challenging fields that require immense dedication, heart, and skill. Take a look.
Good evening. I'm Myra Bergman, Vice President of Communications at PICO. This evening, I have the honor to introduce to you a woman who's carved her own path in corporate America as an Afro-Latina. I'm talking about Yvette Pena, AARP's Vice President of Hispanic and Latino Audience Strategy. Born to Dominican parents, Yvette grew up in the melting pot that is the Upper West Side of Manhattan. There, she experienced what it was to run a business firsthand as her mom opened up a bakery while raising her as a single parent. A young Yvette will help out wherever it was necessary. That experience inspired her to want to open her own business one day, and she went to college and entered the world of marketing. Instead of opening her own operation, Yvette was immersed in the world of marketing in corporate America, first connecting with Hispanic communities for some of the biggest brands in the country, and then expanding her experience into all communities. She landed at AARP in 2016, where Yvette now leads the development of the organization's campaigns targeting older Latinos. Along the way, as Yvette opened the many doors to corporate America, she was sure to leave them open for those from the next generation. The values she learned from her mother and aunts in the Dominican Republic are the ones we honor with the celebration of Aldea's Hispanic Heritage Awards. Here's Yvette's story.
A lot of my inspiration comes from my parents. My parents emigrated from the Dominican Republic to New York City, and I grew up on the Upper West Side. And they came to the US, in search of the American dream, but not only for them, but also for their children. My mother, Dircia, she has been my inspiration. Ever since I was young, she had the entrepreneurial spirit, so much so that she owned her own bakery. It was called Las Tres Estrellas Bakery on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And so that inspired me to learn business, to take on learning the mechanics of how to run a business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be just like my mother. But when I was in school, my last semester at Baruch College in Manhattan, I got the opportunity to work at an advertising agency. And it opened up a whole new world for me. It opened up the world of marketing. And even more so, the world of Hispanic marketing, which is a career that I never thought that I would have. But I was hungry. I wanted more. I wanted more than just Hispanic marketing. And that's when I got the corporate fever. That's when I wanted to go to corporate. As an Afro-Latina in corporate America, there were not a lot of people that looked like me. And so I always knew that I would have to work a little bit harder. I always knew that I would have to find that seat at the table. So at AARP, so much great work has been done. And in my tenure there, one of the most important things is to really make sure that the information that we do and the different strategies really trickle down from the top to the actual employee. This is a way for the Latino community to really understand all that AARP brings, because AARP has a wealth of information, a wealth of resources that are free. That is where the hard work comes in, because we're able to really connect with people and make a difference, not only for the 50 plus Latinos, but for their multi-generational families. What I would say to those who want to be leaders and want to be somebody who really makes an impact is be true to yourself. Never give up. And go and get some kind of education.
Hello friends, I'm Jeffrey Rosen, President and CEO of the National Constitution Center. I'm here at the Constitution Center on Independence Mall in Philadelphia, across from Independence Hall, where the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were drafted. I'm so excited to commemorate Hispanic Heritage Month with you by celebrating the achievements of Gabriel Escobar. He is the first Latino editor in the nearly 200-year history of the Philadelphia Inquirer. He was born in Colombia, he grew up in Queens, and he's had an incredibly distinguished career in journalism. And now let's celebrate the journey of an American archetype of the media.
I was born in Colombia, in the capital city, Bogota, and my father died when I was 2. My mother had limited choices and always an adventurous spirit. She decided to embark on her own and set up in New York City in Queens with me and my 2 brothers, and actually her sister, who had been the pioneer. And she said, again, recollecting this moment many years later, that it was the hardest day of her life. And this was 5 years after my father had been killed. She made one great demand of myself and my brothers, and that was just that we succeed. That was the only thing. And she said,
Do well in school and succeed. That's the only thing I ask. And that was her mantra for her whole life. I started at the bottom of the ladder in journalism. I started a weekly newspaper in Queens and then moved around quite a bit and moved quickly. I went to New Jersey for a small daily. Then I went to the Hartford Courant and I was there for 15 months. Then I came to the Daily News and I was here for 22 months. And then I went to the Washington Post. Certainly in my early years, I was the only one who spoke Spanish. That was the case in Hudson County, New Jersey. And it helped, obviously, because I was dealing with a population where the ability to speak Spanish helped and advanced your reporting. And then I came to the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I've had sort of 2 tours here, with 1 year in Dallas at the Morning News. And I have been at the Inquirer now consecutively since 2012. This is an important, influential American city with a huge history of contributions. It's also a challenge city in many ways. This newspaper has been around since 1829, 192 years. It's the second oldest newspaper in the United States. Being named editor is first and foremost a huge responsibility. I would argue that journalism has always been important. It's the sort of the daily chronicle of what happens in a place. I would argue that it is more important now than it has been certainly in any recent times. I think and I hope that people, especially in the last year, realize the value of what professional journalists who take their jobs seriously, who try to tell stories accurately and fairly, how important they are to the functioning of society.
The inspiration we've seen tonight from these exquisite human beings is palpable. They are a reminder for every child watching this program that their dreams are never too big. You can influence the future of education for an entire state. You can help improve the health conditions of the community around you. You can inspire Latinos and other people of color to run for office. You can lead the next generation of professionals emerging across the nation. And you can be a social activist while being a professional athlete. You can build the next Fortune 500 company or explore a successful career in the performing arts. You can change lives through philanthropy or choose to become the spokesperson for an established brand. But most importantly, you can change the narrative others have created for Latinos and document the true contributions of Hispanic Americans throughout our nation's history. This event would not be possible without the support of our partners, especially those who believed 6 years ago in Aldea's original concept to recognize Hispanic and Latino leaders. For closing remarks, please welcome the co-chair of the 2021 Archetypes Advisory Board, the CEO of PICO, Mike Inocenzo.
Supporting the communities that we serve is part of our DNA. Hispanic Heritage Month provides us the opportunity to honor and recognize the heritage, history, culture, and contributions of those who have immigrated from or have close ties to Latin America. PICO is committed to the advancement of the Latinx community. Their victories, as well as their daily challenges, are important to us. It is through PICO's partnerships with organizations such as Aldea that allow us to directly support this community. We are committed to amplifying the voices of our Hispanic and Latinx neighbors and commemorating their vital contributions they have made to American history. At PICO, as we continue to advance the conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are taking meaningful action to honor and celebrate the vibrant cultures that surround us. We're proud to honor tonight's honorees and celebrate the contributions they have made to our region.
On behalf of myself and Raquel, we once more would like to thank Aldea for having us.
Thanks for watching, and good night.